Hello, Facebook land. It's Chris Angel coming at you on election day, actually. That's not why I've been unhappy, by the way. Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, I did a video that said I've been unhappy. Here's what I'm learning. And that might have been one of the most watched videos I've done in a long time. Probably the most engagement I've had in a long time. And so first of all, here's what that told me. There's a lot of people who either just wanted the juicy details on my life, or probably more appropriately, there's a lot of people who are interested in that conversation and may feel the same way in terms of their own unhappiness. I'm not going to recap that entire video for you. You can go back through my timeline and find it and watch it. Here's what I want to tell you that I've been seeing since that video. So first of all, it's not comfortable for people to observe their unhappiness. Okay. So for me, and that being said, I've been just observing my unhappiness. I've not tried to fix it. I've not tried to medicate it or play on top of it. I've just gone about my days in my life, working, showing up every day, doing life, doing work, doing all the stuff, and just noticing the unhappiness and going, where's it coming from? What's causing it? And what's interesting is that what I'm finding, I think the answer to that is not maybe what I thought it would have been. I think a lot of times with unhappiness, it's easy to start to go to the shadows, right? Which is like, well, what unresolved things do I have from my childhood? What stories am I bringing into my adult life from being a kid? Things like that. I've done a lot of that work in my life. Which is kind of interesting, because then why would I still be unhappy? Well, there are two specific things that showed up for me so far. And look, there may be a part 3, part 4 of this as I continue to observe it. Here's what I saw. So the first thing that came up was in a conversation with my business partner last week, which was about open loops. So an open loop in life would be like things that we just don't complete. For example, I have probably at this time, I have 38,000 unread emails in my email inbox in Gmail. Whoa, that's a lot. Now, up to this point, it hasn't bothered me. And this is just an example. I don't actually know that that's an open loop that bothers me. But when you start to look at the things that we open and then never complete, like projects, things that I have a bunch of clothes in my closet right now that need to be folded and put away. They're not folded and put away, and they've been there for a week. That's an open loop. Okay. So if you go through my life, what I started to feel like was overwhelm from all the open loops in my life. Now, I'm an idea person. I'm a high energy, big vision idea person. And the challenge for somebody like me, maybe you also, right, in this place, is that I've had a lot of ideas and things that I've wanted to implement, and I haven't completed those things. And the challenge is, as I move and live through life, I continue to have more ideas. The ideas never stop coming here. They just keep coming, right? Which is a good thing, but it also creates a lot of open loops that never get closed. And so what I started to feel like was the image that came to my mind was, as a kid, I would go fishing with my grandpa. And I'd take a fishing pole and I could cast it out. And if I cast it too hard or something, the fishing reel, the spool of fishing line would bird nest. It would get tangled and create a big mess. And it would then take me an hour, 2 hours to untangle that entire mess. Okay, well, with all the open loops in life, what I started to see was, I feel like my entire life has been bird nested with ideas that aren't complete, and it's created this big tangle of a mess of things that I feel like I have to complete, and I don't know where to start. There's too many things I've collected. There's too many ideas, too many unfinished projects I've collected over time, and I don't know where to start, and that's overwhelming. So my first thought is that with unhappiness, for me, what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of things that I have not completed that are creating overwhelm. And in the middle of overwhelm, it's very hard to be present to the great things in life when you're continually listening to all the chatter in your head about the things that are unfinished. Make sense? So that was super interesting to me, because I'm like, wow, I have not been good at closing loops in my life. And so as a result, now that's just this year or in the last couple months or the last week. Now take that times 20 years, my entire adult life being an idea person and not closing loops, right? Well, that is a massive bird nest of overwhelm that just starts to pile on. And so how do I untangle that? That became the question, like, well, no wonder I'm not happy. I'm buried in overwhelm from all the open loops in life. So here's the good news of that. I started to realize that for me to change some things, I would just need to start changing how I am about closing things, closing loops. I can't say that since I had this observation last week, like I've mastered that. But what I can say is I'm now more present to like, okay, close the loop, right? Close the loop on whatever it is so that I don't carry it with me. Okay, that's the first thing, is closing loops. Here's the second thing. The second thing I noticed, it's weird. In college, I was very, I was very positive, and I lived my life out here noticing other people, and I would acknowledge people and praise people and show gratitude for people. And as I got into, this is in college, as I got into my adult life out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do professionally. I didn't really know where I fit. I had bills to pay. Oh my gosh, now I'm married. Oh my gosh, now I have kids. And so I started to have adulting, the responsibility of being an adult. And I started to go inward, trying to find answers and figure things out. I read books, I bought courses, I joined companies. I did all of these things to try to start to provide answers and insights to who I'm supposed to be and how does this all work. And in the process of doing that, I stopped noticing people out here. And I stopped giving gratitude out here, which is really weird because I've always considered myself somebody who is positive and gets the contribution thing, gets the gratitude thing. And yet, the amount of gratitude I've pushed out into the world is minuscule compared to what I was in college. So now I have 20 years of life of trying to figure out answers and grinding to find answers and not giving gratitude. And here's where this moment showed up. I was doing a podcast last week for one of our clients. So Michael Mayer, who wrote The 7 Levels of Communication, is a client of my agency, my marketing agency. And we had Bob Berg from The Go-Giver, the author of The Go-Giver, on the podcast. The podcast is called The Referrals Podcast. Oh, actually, it wasn't Bob Berg. It was John Israel. That's who it was. And John, his nickname is Mr. Thank You. John was talking about how he was writing these notes, and and what he noticed in himself is as he would acknowledge other people, he just started to feel good. And there was a moment in the interview where I just was like, that's what's been missing. That's part of what's been missing, is that I have not been acknowledging others and telling others what I appreciate about them. I've been so self-absorbed and trying to figure out my life and my purpose and my own stuff that I've stopped acknowledging other people. And it's so weird because in that moment, I could totally feel what it felt like in college to just be so excited about how cool other people are. It's so funny. But when you're all absorbed in your own stuff, when you're absorbed in your own like problems and trying to figure stuff out, it's very hard to be happy. Right. And counterintuitively, when you're focused on how cool other people are and you're acknowledging that, you can't help but be filled up with the feeling of that. That feels so good. I totally remember what that feels like. And I've been pretty stingy in my adult life and passing that out because I've been positive and I've been cheerful and I've been pleasant, if you will, but I haven't been exuding my gratitude for other people around me. And I just noticed like, that is another reason why I've not been happy for a long time, right? Not that I can't be happy in a moment, but that it's not like just welling up inside me. And so when I wake up in a day, this is going back to the first video I did, when I wake up in a day feeling dread about the day versus like in college, waking up and being like, I don't know what's going to happen today, but I'm excited and fired up. I can't wait to see. Well, that I haven't woken up like that in a long time. And I think when I start to close the loops of responsibility, like close the loops of things I'm taking on, and starting to acknowledge what I love about others to them, those two things are sort of the most immediate next steps for me to begin to take back or find and live out that happiness. So I wanted to come back and make sure that I didn't leave you hanging with my unhappiness part one. I wanted to come back and give you what I'm noticing. Now, this inquiry is not over. I'm still observing. And so I imagine I will have more to share with you as I keep observing it. But for now, my answers are to close loops so that I'm not living under the weight and overwhelm of those open loops, right? When you can close the open loops, you can be more present in the moment because you're not worried and thinking about all the things you haven't done yet. And living from a place of gratitude and acknowledging the things I love about others to them. I expect that to have a huge payoff in terms of happiness. So there it is, people. That is the update on what I've observed and been noticing about unhappiness. And I hope that in some way that serves you. I had a conversation with somebody just today who they saw my original unhappiness video a couple weeks back. They said what a difference it made for them. And it gave them permission to just be more honest about where they are in life. And so, look, the whole reason I share these things with you and throw myself under the bus is so that if any of you are served by or benefit from what I'm learning in life, then you would be able to have that help, if you will, that step up in what it is that you're up to in life. So hope that helps. And thanks for joining me here. Reach out to me, send me a private message if you are interested in talking more about your own situation. I'm learning a ton, so I'm here to help. Okay. All right, gang. Adios.